Iran, a country of ancient history and immense strategic importance, finds itself navigating a period of profound and turbulent change. The year 2024 ushered in a series of events that have shaken the very foundations of its political establishment, sending ripples across the Middle East and beyond. For ordinary Iranians, this era is marked by a mixture of cautious optimism and deep-seated anxiety, as the nation grapples with internal power struggles and escalating external conflicts. The complex interplay between its elected officials and the unyielding power of its clerical and military institutions defines this moment, leaving the future of the republic more uncertain than ever before. The world watches closely, aware that the direction Iran takes will have significant consequences for global stability. The election of Masoud Pezeshkian as president in mid-2024 was initially met with a flicker of hope among a populace weary of economic hardship and social restrictions. Pezeshkian, widely seen as a reformist figure, campaigned on promises of change, suggesting a path toward greater openness and a less confrontational foreign policy. His victory, even with a modest turnout, was interpreted by many as a public mandate for a different approach. Supporters dreamed of a government that would prioritize the needs of its people over ideological battles, potentially easing tensions with the West and creating space for social and political reforms that have long been suppressed under hardline rule. This optimism, however, was quickly confronted by the stark realities of Iran's political structure. The president, while the face of the government, operates within a system dominated by the supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, and the formidable Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This creates what many have called the Pezeshkian paradox. He must either satisfy the powerful, entrenched interests of the IRGC, or deliver on the reformist promises that brought him to power. Choosing the latter would risk political sabotage from the very institutions that control the country's security and a vast portion of its economy, making any genuine change a monumental, if not impossible, task. The challenge for the new administration became immediately apparent. Early attempts by President Pezeshkian to signal a de-escalation in foreign policy, particularly his remarks at the United Nations suggesting a path toward disarmament, were met with swift and severe backlash from hardliners. This forced him into a strategic retreat, compelling him to publicly embrace the IRGC's axis of resistance doctrine and appoint officials who align with the regime's traditional anti-Western stance. This pivot demonstrated the limited autonomy of the presidency, enduring power of the IRGC, which remains the ultimate arbiter of Iran's national and international direction, leaving many to wonder if true reform is even possible. The delicate balance of power in Tehran was shattered in the most dramatic fashion possible in July 2024. The assassination of Hamas's top political leader, Ismail Haniyeh, in a pre-dawn airstrike in the heart of the capital was a security breach of unprecedented scale. The attack, widely attributed to Israel, occurred just hours after President Pezeshkian's inauguration, serving as a brutal message to the new administration and a profound embarrassment for the regime. For a country that prides itself on its security apparatus and control over its airspace, which is protected by advanced Russian S-300 air defense systems, the strike revealed a shocking level of vulnerability that resonated deeply within Iran and across the region. This brazen act was not an isolated incident but the latest escalation in a long-running shadow war between Iran and Israel. The conflict had already intensified earlier in the year, moving from covert operations to direct military confrontation. In April 2024, Iran launched its first-ever direct attack on Israeli territory, firing over 300 drones and missiles in retaliation for an Israeli strike that killed a senior IRGC commander in Syria. Israel's response to Iranian defenses, setting a dangerous new precedent for the ongoing struggle between the two regional adversaries. The Haniyeh assassination, however, represented a different kind of warfare. The precision and location of the strike strongly suggested the involvement of internal collaborators, highlighting a critical weakness for the Iranian regime. Foreign intelligence agencies, most notably Israel's Mossad, have shown a repeated ability to recruit assets within Iran, a fact underscored by previous assassinations of nuclear scientists. This reliance on local assistance points to a growing disillusionment among some Iranians who, motivated by financial incentives or a deep-seated opposition to the regime, are willing to aid its sworn enemies, turning the shadow war into a conflict fought on Iranian soil. The implications of this attack are far-reaching, extending beyond the immediate security fallout. It complicates any effort by President Pezeshkian to pursue de-escalation, as the pressure from hardliners to retaliate aggressively becomes immense. Furthermore, it sows paranoia and distrust within the ruling elite, forcing the regime to look inward for traitors and collaborators. For the Iranian people, it brings the reality of the conflict to their doorstep, transforming distant proxy wars into a direct threat within their capital city. The sense of insecurity deepens, adding another layer of pressure to the already difficult conditions of daily life under a government seemingly unable to protect its own high-profile guests. At the center of Iran's political and military power stands the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The IRGC is far more than just an army. It is the ideological backbone of the Islamic Republic and the primary enforcer of its revolutionary principles under the guidance of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Its influence permeates every aspect of Iranian society, dictating foreign policy through its support for the axis of resistance, a network of proxies including Hezbollah and Hamas, and enforcing domestic compliance through its vast security apparatus. This institution was created to protect the revolution, and it sees any deviation from its core tenets, such as hostility toward the United States and Israel, as an existential threat. The IRGC's power is not merely ideological, it is deeply rooted in the nation's economy. Through its massive engineering and construction conglomerate Khatam Al-Anbiya, and a web of front companies, the Guard controls a staggering portion of Iran's economic activity. It dominates key sectors, from infrastructure and energy to telecommunications, often securing lucrative state contracts without competition. This economic empire allows the IRGC to operate with a degree of independence from the official government budget, funding its military operations and social programs while undermining the private sector and stifling genuine economic competition. This economic dominance presents a formidable barrier to any reform-minded president. Past leaders who have attempted to challenge the IRGC's financial interests have been met with fierce resistance and political sabotage. President Pezeshkian, despite his reformist platform, appears to have recognized this reality. In a clear signal of appeasement, he has visited the headquarters of Khatam Al-Anbiya to discuss future state projects and has appointed a foreign minister known for his hardline stance. These actions suggest that his administration has chosen to avoid a direct confrontation, effectively conceding that the IRGC's economic and political power will remain unchallenged for the foreseeable future. For the average Iranian citizen, the IRGC's economic control translates into a system rife with corruption and cronyism, where opportunities are reserved for those with connections to the revolutionary elite. It starves the private sector of investment and innovation, contributing to high unemployment and inflation. The vast sums of money funneled into supporting foreign proxies and military endeavors are seen by many as resources that could be better spent on improving domestic services and economic conditions. The IRGC's unyielding grip ensures that the nation's wealth is directed toward preserving the regime's power rather than improving the lives of its people, perpetuating a cycle of economic stagnation and public frustration. Beneath the surface of Iran's rigid political structure, a deep current of public dissatisfaction flows. This discontent is not a new phenomenon, but it has been amplified by recent events, particularly the brutal state crackdown on the woman life freedom protests that erupted in 2022. The movement, sparked by the death of Mahsa Amini in the custody of the morality police, galvanized millions of Iranians, especially youth and women, who demanded fundamental social and political change. The government's response was swift and violent, resulting in hundreds of deaths and thousands of arrests, leaving a legacy of anger and resentment that continues to simmer. The regime's campaign of repression has not ceased. In July 2024, the popular singer Shervin Hajipour, whose song Baraye became the anthem of the 2022 protests, was imprisoned, sending a clear message that no form of dissent will be tolerated. Authorities continue to enforce strict hijab laws and have threatened arrests for any online expression deemed pro-Israel or critical of the IRGC. This climate of fear is pervasive, but it has not entirely extinguished the spirit of resistance. Instead, it has driven dissent underground, fostering a quiet defiance in everyday life and, for some, a willingness to collaborate with external forces against a government they view as oppressive and illegitimate. This internal unrest is compounded by widespread frustration over the government's foreign policy priorities. Many Iranians resent the billions of dollars spent supporting proxy groups like Hamas and Hezbollah, especially in the wake of the October 7, 2023 attacks and the subsequent devastating war. They see this as a squandering of national resources that could be used to address pressing domestic issues like a collapsing economy, water shortages, and crumbling infrastructure. The disconnect between the regime's revolutionary ambitions and the daily struggles of its people has never been more apparent, fueling a sense of alienation from the state. Despite the immense challenges and the heavy hand of the state, the story of Iran is not solely one of oppression. It is also a story of resilience and an unyielding hope for a better future. The nation's vibrant and youthful population continues to push for change in countless ways, both overt and subtle. They leverage technology to bypass censorship, create art that challenges authority, and maintain a dream of a country that is free, prosperous, and at peace with the world. While the path forward is fraught with uncertainty and danger, the enduring spirit of the Iranian people remains a powerful force.